And I've heard people say that beyond the exercise, which is currently ongoing to recover the monies, there should be some form of prosecution. So you arraign the people before court, let them go through the process, because merely disconnecting them and taking your money is not enough. I mean, it's not a disincentive enough not to
exactly
engage
because
in
they'll
the
always find a way to
illegalities.
get back on
Precisely.
that system anyway. I remember Leila herself was saying, I think last week or so, that they're hoping to meter the poles now. So even though you have a meter in your home, they'll still put the meter on the pole. So if the ECG people come and check and it doesn't reflect on what you have in your house as against what's in the pole, then they'll know that you've created a bypass, and that's how. I hope that they do that as soon as possible, because otherwise I'm buying electricity and it runs out in days. And I feel as if, aside the fact that they've increased the cost of electricity, are they finding ways to also make some money off some of us, who are doing the right thing, just so they can meet their target? Because there's a lot of money that they are not collecting.
Yes, that's being lost.
I buy 500, and I'll tell you for a fact, I bought 500 last week. I loaded it on Monday. By Sunday, my lights were out, and I had to load another.
Wow.
So and this has been going on for a while. At first, it will last 2 weeks, then it's gone, and then now this. Of course, I'll go to the ECG office to find out what the problem is.
Right.
But I do have a problem with that, because now when you buy electricity in days, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's a major problem.
It's a very big issue. I remember in 2021, 2022, the Africa Center for Energy Policy did undertake a whole media engagement and stakeholder engagement. And they talk about how we have transmission losses. Oh, Komla, you are dismissed.
All right. Thank you. Have a good show.
This one too is by Smart Clothings.
Precisely.
Please, I particularly would want one of this.
All right.
Tell him. Okay.
And he has always been wanting to meet you, by the way.
Okay, great. So this one will be fine.
All right.
Or some other, tweaking will be fine.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
And they had indicated that if you look at the way we generate power, the way it's transmitted, and we know the main transmitting company is Gridco, and the distribution company is the ECG. Almost close to 5% of power that is transmitted is lost.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we have close to 30% of that power being distributed by ECG, also lost. In addition to this is the weak revenue collection system that we have. And before you do that, we have to start from what type of meters that are given out.
Exactly.
Before we decided to do all this prepaid thing, we had the normal one that we were told that were slow.
Yeah.
So by post 1998, 2000, we said, well, we wanted to reduce the load. So new meters started coming in from 2000, etc. We had so-called digitized ones, and we've had a number of meters that have been in the system.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you look at the items you have in your household, the way you use them, and the power that so-called you consume as a consumer, you definitely will be worried. Because most of the time for working people, and I'm not talking about those who are doing formal work, you could be in the office, you could be at the marketplace, you are not home, and then they give you bills. Bills that just don't correspond or are not commensurate based on your own deductions as to how much you consumed. And it's one of the reasons why we have illegal connections. Secondly are the main things that have been spoken about. If you have clustered people, clustered residents in these so-called compound houses, do you go and put their meters, because you want to get access to these meters, on poles outside their households?
I've never understood that.
Where when it rains, it gets into these electrical boxes that are supposed to be doing the management or the monitoring of how power is consumed. Now you are going around and you are trying to find out whether there have been illegal connections. Illegal connections will always go on, but how do you check them? And if you have meters that don't last the test or don't last the test of time, then definitely look. I have interacted with certain friends in ECG, and they've told me there are certain batch of meters that come in that are faulty. They'll tell you these batch of meters have certain faults. So
why do they install them?
Great. So we have to keep asking ourselves the question, whether as transmission companies or distributing companies, whether meters that had been installed at certain points over the years are faulty, or whether the billing that is undertaken by those meters are undertaken in a way for which consumers, based on what they are consuming, are paying the right type of rates. And then thirdly is pricing. It is basic in economics. If you price people out, they will find different means for substitution. It's very basic. If you price consumers out of a good or a service, they will find means of getting substitutes. And if you price consumers of electricity or any other utility that they cannot afford, they will find means of getting that utility in some different ways.
I totally agree. And for me, it's also the concern about whether, they're putting their mouth where, their hand is. Is that how you say that phrase? I think so. Now, for me, it's even that 59 million or so worth of prepaid meters that were brought in sometime in 2018. And we're told per the Auditor General's reports that it had been left to rot. Now, when they went into details, they realized that it was because these meters were faulty. And for 5 years, those meters were abandoned and they were just there. And nobody was necessarily taking responsibility for it to even say that, let's try and return it so we can get meters that work, or at least let's try to recoup the monies that we lost. 59 million Ghana cedis is no joke.
At all.
And we leave all those monies to just go, dissipate into thin air, and now we come and put the pressure on Ghanaians and say, because you are not paying, we're also coming for our monies from you. Yes, you have every right to collect monies from companies and individuals who are refusing to pay their electricity. But you as an institution as well, what are you doing to ensure that there's prudent management of resources? If you bring in meters and you leave them to rot, you are as guilty as anybody else who's also refusing to pay. Because if they hear stories like this, they wonder, why should I even give my money to you in the first place? Because already, I'm not even sure if I'm being charged the right amount for the electricity I'm consuming. Then beyond that, you're also wasting the little resources that you have. You don't have money, but you have enough to let it go and not do anything about it.
Exactly.
Nobody has come out to explain. We don't know if they have returned those monies, 59 million Ghana cedis.
Exactly.
That's not a joke.
Right.
That is not a joke.
And I believe that is why ASEP, in that quarterly report that they issued, did say that, for example, in 2019, system losses stood at 4.7%, a 19.4% increase from 2018. 2020, just by the first half of 2020, they increased to 5.28%. And subsequently, it continues to the distribution sector. And they even told all these companies within the value chain, including ECG especially, that they needed to make sure their investments were right. How do you monitor? How do you get people on the ground? How do you make sure that the rates that you ask for, you put before the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, will be afforded by the consumers? Because there's no point. Let's take, for example, the goods that are brought from China that we keep complaining about, that tend to compete with those that are manufactured locally. It is because there are factors involved in that sort of production that, if you do the computation, makes the good affordable and so are very much competitive as far as related to the ones that are manufactured locally. And these are things that I believe that the experts know.
They do.
We should take a look at how many people have access to electricity. We're told that over 80%. By 2017, it was 83%. By now, we're told that it's now over 85%.
About 89
if 85 to 89% of the Ghanaian population have access to electricity that you generate, how much are you collecting? If you're generating, you're collecting not enough revenue that is commensurate to what you're generating or giving to consumers, then you should find better means instead of just doing this ad hoc one. You want the revenue, so you are going around disconnecting. I can bet you there are areas in Accra, in Ghana, immediately all these outsourced people leave, they'll be reconnected.
Of course.
They will find means to reconnect. Oh, they will reconnect it.
They even have people inside who will come and show them how to bypass.
Okay.
I mean, and you see, I remember that sometime last week as well, when my lights got finished, I had to go and find, because I thought I had enough. Now you move from one place to the other and they tell you my system is down. Sorry, I don't have credit. Sorry, my system is down. And the entire day, I combed the entire district trying to find electricity to buy. And you know there are some cards that you can't go beyond your district. Because if you go beyond your district, you cannot get electricity. They'll tell you come back and come and buy it in your district. So you have to find, there's even a meter radius apparently. So you cannot go beyond a certain radius. Buy it from that community, otherwise you will not be able to buy electricity. You go, the system is down, and there are people who need electricity, and they go around and they say the system is down. Where am I supposed to go to get the electricity? And yes, the moment I load it, it's as if half of it is already gone, and you don't seem to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I remember the managing director of ECG was here just about a week or two ago explaining to Alfred Kante about all the challenges they're facing and why they have to collect the money. But beyond that, how are they ensuring that they're giving us, the benefits that we should get from the monies that we're paying? We're not getting that, and it's a major, major challenge. And they're not the only ones. The vendors are also complaining that now there's also been an increment in how much they should buy. Initially, you could just buy about 5,000 Ghana cedis worth of credit to sell. These are the vendors. Now they're being told to buy 20,000 Ghana cedis. Otherwise, it will not be sold to them.
If you don't have 20,000 in excess,
then you cannot buy and sell to people. I listened to the managing director, and he says that, well, there are people who in some communities who buy about 1,000 Ghana cedis per.
Which community?
I really don't know, but there are people who spend maybe about 1,000 Ghana cedis. But for a vendor who is also trying to survive, and they're saying that for every amount, I think they make only about 20 Ghana cedis per 500 or something. I was speaking to one of them not too long ago. So she says that the profit margin is really, really low. They're struggling to make ends meet, and now you're telling them they have to find 20,000 Ghana cedis to buy electricity at a go, otherwise you cannot sell it to them. How are they going to survive? Based on what exactly?
Exactly, and these are the questions that we've had IFES as well as ASEP ask all these managers of either the transmission or distribution companies of power. Look, if we are in a country and we don't want to be realistic, we do a disaggregation of the population, the distribution in terms of where people live, their income levels, etc. Yes, it is true. There are people who buy electricity to the tune of average 1,000.
Yeah.
But how many of such communities are repleted around? How many? And we have now imported into this country, decided also to have a certain taste for air conditioners and high energy consuming appliances. You understand that? You understand.
Yeah.
And now you are saying that if you don't have a certain amount of money, you cannot buy bulk to sell. And then if you look at far and in between, how they are spaced by way of the vendors, there are people who live in Lashibi, they have to go to Tema to get electricity. Just because a vending point has some mechanical or some digital problems or some electrical problems.
The system is down. And there's
nothing
they can do.
And if somebody is frustrated in getting access to a service or a need, what do? They find a bypass.
Exactly.
It's a normal thing.
Blame them.
It's like when there's traffic on the motorway. When there's traffic on the motor, people use the sideways or is it sidewalks or whatever it is that we want to say. People use those because they want to get access.
Yeah.
And it's a basic thing for any human being to think about. So what is the remedy? What we are doing is the same thing that the GRA also does.
Yeah.
I mean, respectfully, it's good. By the time it's November or October, we go around all these co-stores, these hotels, and we start cutting, or maybe looking at their books and see whether they owe, etc. So we want to collect their money. At the end of the day, why did we wait till October, knowing that it's the last quarter of the year? No, there are people who are experiencing difficulties in getting access to these utilities.
We have Josephine on the line, and you can also call us and share with us what your difficulties are with power in the country and any other concern, but power more specifically. Josephine, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. So tell us, what is your challenge with the ECG?
So we saying in March, not all have the access to the prepaid. We are not prepaid users. So we are mostly charged with the bill. And up to now, there's no bill for March.
There's no
bill. They still come around to cut off our line.
Have you gone to the ECG office to find out why your bill hasn't been sent to you yet?
Not yet.
But you need to find out because you should be concerned.
Yes, the bills are not here, but they are also telling us to go and pay. So how are you going to pay without the bill?
Who is telling you to go and pay?
They came around, cutting off our lines, and then they said that we should go and pay. But there's no bill for us this month, and March is almost ended.
And they're already
They
cutting.
will come around. They will, even when they bring the bill, they will come around cutting off for your line.
Wow. And they've done that to you this month already when you have not received your bill.
Not yet, but they will. Eventually, when they come out with the bill, sharing the bill, just 2 days or 3 days after they have set the bill, they will come around.
Wow. Okay. So like you said, you haven't been to the ECG office, but maybe you should try and go to them. Today is what? It's almost the end of March. Today is the 30th, so just one more day before March ends. Let's hope that they bring you your bill today. But if not, I know there are some people who have also advised that you should pay ahead of time because usually you know how much you consume per average every month. And I've heard the managing director also say it as well, that you know how much you consume averagely every month. So sometimes you can even pay ahead if your bill hasn't come in. But then the problem is, if the bill comes and it's a little more, it's a little less. I mean, what happens within that window when you tell me that I should still go and pay when I have not received my bill? It's also a major problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, you can also call. Let us know.
And you
what
know
your
that
concerns
within the
are.
period of last year, there was a point in time where we had those in Kroboland raising issues.
Exactly.
When I believe the Electricity Company of Ghana wanted to replace their
Postpaid.
Yes, their postpaid meters to prepaid.
Yeah.
That also created some agitations because they just couldn't relate as far as the billing is concerned with the prepaid meters.
Yeah.
For those that had initially had theirs installed for them. And that is also at the heart of the problem. So we undertake policy initiatives here, the stakeholder engagement. Sometimes you know that you are being had done by a certain power distributor, and sometimes the power is not consistent. Your power goes off. What do you do?
What do you do?
You know, and these are some of the things that Engineer Mahama, the respected managing director, also needs to come and address.
Yeah.
Once we have clustered communities, we have people who are using power. They cannot have efficient means by which they can have redress for their concerns in that consumption of that service. They'll bypass.
Yeah.
It is going to happen again. Not that we are encouraging them.
Yeah.
It's a normal thinking of a normal human being.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we have a caller from Mamprobi. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Bella.
Hi, good morning. What's your name, please?
The name is Good News. I'm calling from Mamprobi.
You're welcome. Please talk to us.
Yeah. I have lights in my house, so I decided to go and add extra because it was about to finish. Then immediately when I bought the 50 CD or I added to my credit and the light totally went off. I went there, they said, I'm owing on my prepaid.
Huh?
I buy extra 200 CDs for me to get light.
Wait, hold on. Explain. So how much did you have on before you bought the 50 CDs?
I have light there. I don't know how much it's blinking, but it's blinking that it's about to finish.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
So I have to go and buy extra to top it up.
Yeah.
So I bought extra 50 CDs. And when I slot the card, the light just went off. So I went back to the vendor to complain. She said that I'm owing on my meter. I should buy extra 200 CDs before I can be able to get light.
You are owing. Did you get any message from ECG indicating?
This is the second time it's happening.
This is the what? Second time?
Yeah, so I have to buy extra 200 CDs. And they say I have 200 CDs.
Have you checked with ECG what the problem is?
I've got to the office. They said they will come to the house to face it. For 2 weeks now, I've not seen them. Yeah, this is very, very bad. Very, very bad.
But if they say you owe, have they explained? Did you at least ask them to address that for you as to why you owe when you probably?
When I went to buy the 50 CD, they didn't see any owing there. They say it's okay. I have to buy 50 CD extra. You see, but after I came home and slept the card, they discovered that I'm owing 200 CD extra. I have to buy extra 200 CD.
Look at that.
You see, so it's very, very disheartening.
Well, I do hope that anybody from ECG who has some authorities watching and listening, because these are
I've done there like many times to complain, yet no solution.
2 weeks they haven't shown up. Okay, all right. Well, thank you for sharing with us, and I do hope that they'll address you your challenge as soon as possible. But well, that's also someone from Amprobi sharing his concern that he owes money
Well,
when he knows he doesn't owe.
we'll call Kofi Kapito of the Consumer Protection Agency.
Okay.
And then we'll also get to know what really that, as far as consumer rights are concerned, the consumers need to do to make sure that the concerns they have are also well represented.
Yeah.
Nobody has any problem with electricity company of Ghana saying that I want to go around and make sure that those who have had power illegally connected are disconnected. And rightly so, I get my revenue. Nobody has a problem.
Abu, good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Where are you calling us from?
I'm Asaman.
Okay, what's your concern?
I have this problem. I have this malfunctioning meter. And for 2 years, I have reported to ECG. The trace is a prepaid meter. The trace is gone off. You cannot buy credit and load onto it. But there's power that is running through. I complained to ECG. I've gone to their district office at Insawum. On 3 occasions, they gave me one guy's number called Edem. I called him. He came, look at the meter, and asked me, boss, where are you? I said, I'm at work. He said, oh, if you're at work, we cannot do anything. When you come. So I asked him, what is it that you cannot do unless I'm standing in the house? Can't you fix it? I came home, called them one time. They came again, looked at it, and marked it red. I've done everything possible for them to come look at it. They are not coming. My fear now is one day they will come and say you are owing so much.
Yeah.
Pay, otherwise they are cutting you off.
Did they tell you why? Did they tell you why they marked it red? What does that mean?
The red, I don't understand. But my personal decision is that maybe they just wanted to identify among the lots of meters on the pool, this particular one is having a problem.
Yeah. So do you?
That's what they did.
Is this a prepaid meter or postpaid?
Hello?
Is this prepaid or postpaid?
It's prepaid.
Prepaid. So,
yes.
Like you're saying, you are not able to load what? Credit?
No, you cannot load credit.
But you still have lights.
It's running through.
So do they send you a bill at least? Because at this point when you can't load lights, how does it run through?
What will happen is, because it's a digital meter, once you go, they have it rectified, and you go and pay your bill, sometimes they do some deductions. And that's where the consumer will find that there's a certain gap based on his or her own assumptions as to how much I consume within that vacuum when the billing process prepaid was frustrated. Do you understand?
I see.
So that's the difficulty.
So, but that means that you always have to go and pay at the ECG office just so you can keep your lights on?
No,
or can you still stay without?
For some, it depends on the varied experiences. I've known somebody who has had apparently a problem with a meter. He didn't know. And then it was the credit that was on was just not reducing. And he also left it there. So they came back in April, I think April sometime last year.
To accuse him of owing.
Oh, he paid over 3,000.
What?
Yeah. Which is logical, but you have to explain for that person to understand that I spent or consumed that much of power.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Gabriel speaking from Sotom, capital here.
Okay. Gabriel, what's your concern?
Okay, I also have concern. I had a meter where I rented. So one day I went to buy credit and then there was an error. So the card was cancelled, and then I went to the ECG office at Achimota. I reported, and then they came to say it. So they asked me to start paying an amount every week.
Okay.
So I've paid for almost a year. They said they will come and replace the meter. But as at now,
Wallah
they've not come.
illallah.
I also got fed up taking a car to Achimota every week to go and pay 30 cedis.
30 cedis every week for a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They said they will come and change the meter. The answer, they have not come.
They have not come.
When I called the number they gave me, anytime I called, they said they will come here. So I also stopped. So they came to connect it themselves, though I'm still using it like that.
Wow.
So sometimes it is not our fault. It is their fault. When you have a problem and you send it to them, they refuse to come and address your issue to you. So sometimes they come and they say, you've done illegal. It is not our fault. It is their fault. They are not up to date. When you call them, they don't want to come and do anything for you. Sometimes they come, they only need the money and go.
Yeah. And I have this one from lawyer Kakri Samoa. He's director for communication for NDC. He says, some time ago, I sent my driver to go and buy me something in the night. ECG staff appeared at the kiosks to disconnect the power to the kiosks. Amazingly, the lights were still on even after the disconnection. Yeah. And then I have this one from Philip, from somewhere in the Volta area, Keta to be specific. He says, in fact, the billing issue is problematic in the Volta region, especially in Keta. Sometimes they will bring you a bill and ask you to come and pay. If you cannot pay, then they will disconnect you, knowing that they had a problem with the billing system. Then there's this one says they won't bring bills. That's Nyasa saying they won't bring bills for months. And when they bring it to, they will combine all the months you owed and charge you as one.
And expect you to
this
pay
makes you pay more than you are expected to pay monthly if they were sending the bills to you monthly.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from KGB in the OT region.
Okay. Emmanuel, you're welcome. What do you have to say?
Thank you very much. There was a time that I visited my dad in La Paz, at La Paz. So luckily, he knows about electricity because he once worked with them.
Okay.
So there was a time that a guy from the ECG visited, and he saw the meter, and obviously we were living in a 2-by-4 with kitchen. So he was saying that, like, he checked the meter, step on the fridge and get something done on the meter. And luckily, my dad was around. If it were to be any other person, like, he would have messed with the meter. And he was like, the meter is not running. And my dad asked him to step down of the fridge. So he worked with ECG before.
Yeah.
And there's no way he messed up with the meter, so he should get out of the room. And shamefully, he left. So sometimes these people, I think they sometimes know what they are doing, but they just don't tell the public the truth.
So he was deliberately tampering with your meter so what you would pay more or what?
Yes, please. Yes, so that we can pay more because he said the prepaid wasn't running.
Meanwhile, it was working fine.
Yes, please.
Wow. I see. But did you escalate this to the district office or something?
Nah, my dad is someone who doesn't take things seriously, so he let it go.
But that's the problem then. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And maybe you should also be vigilant when they visit you as well. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't even understand how these meters work. It's very technical. So if you've not worked in that department before, you may never understand what they're trying to do to your meter. But if some of them also come around deliberately to tamper with your meter just so you pay more, that's a problem.
They don't... It is the interpretation that the consumer has given to the action that has been undertaken by the ECG staff or outsourced staff. So that is why there needs to be some level of communication. Look, there are some communities we know are no-go areas because of the actions of the distributing company.
Yeah.
So if you come and put these number of meters on the electricity poles outside the compound house or compound houses, and they are fraught with difficulties, and when they want to engage you, your answers are not forthcoming. They can't reach you, they can't get access. And next time you come,
wahala for you. Are we anywhere close to what the foreign countries do, where everything is connected to a main source?
Well, okay, like gas and all that. You pay your bills.
And you pay your bills monthly. And if you don't, they disconnect from source.
All the managers of the company, ECG, they all went to school outside. It's like the finance minister, Yale and those things. You see how things are happening. It's the same thing. They go to school outside. They know that you have a system where the billing is undertaken. There's gas. There's this. Everything is seamless.
Exactly.
You cannot escape.
Why are we sending people around? Are we going to give them maybe extra for going around in the sun to disconnect people? And if that's the case, every month, if you don't pay, they disconnect you. Why do we wait for bills to pile up to a certain level? Then we come back and say you at least pay 50%, otherwise we're going to disconnect you.
Can you
I mean,
imagine?
all of this. And there are a lot of major factories and companies that owe millions.
Hotels,
millions.
this, hospitality.
And then we wait and come and do PR and say that.
Look at somebody from, it says, Aram says, imagine we haven't had our bills for the last 2 months. The meter reader was in the house 3 days ago, only to undertake reading, but not to give us the bills for the month. I'm sure the next month they'll continue. Then all of a sudden they'll come one day and you expect
20 billion.
So if I don't have money, what do I do? Yeah. Because I consumed and because of your inactiveness or inefficiency, I should pay.
I have to pay.
When I don't have, you know, and you know the standard of living of the ordinary or average Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Charlie, Ghana.
Anyway, we'll take a break, and I'm sure when we come back, we'll speak to Mr. Kofi Kapito. Look forward to also the big issue our ladies are in. We'll be right back.